Real quick video, then I'm getting out the way. Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. First of all, shouts out to Spill Dog. Then I flipped over from Spill Dog and was watching Trill, and he CC and 78 Sports TV had Bill Haney, you know what I'm saying, on the live, and they was talking about, Lomachenko talking about he went undisputed, and it was an entertaining back and forth between Black and Bill Haney. Go check it out, subscribe, you know what I'm saying, salute. And I don't want to, I'm piggybacking off these two topics, but I hope I don't just, regurgitate some of the same shit that these brothers already, talked about, touched on. But let me look at it like this. Now, first of all, when it comes to Lomachenko, the race factor gets brought into the equation. Now, I'm gonna tell you, the only race that I have an issue with is the human race. But when I look at Lomachenko coming into this fight with Devin Haney, well, when I look at Lomachenko and the way he was promoted, like, it's true, it's true that a Bob Arum wouldn't necessarily know how to best promote a Terrence Bud Crawford, and race does have something to do with it. I don't want to say it's just malicious. It's just that I understand, I can see why, like, a Mayweather had to leave a Bob Arum to do what was inside of his creativity to know how to promote himself. Because Bob Arum would have never knew how to really promote Mayweather to become as big as he became. Because Bob Arum knows that to the casual audience, everything kind of looks the same when it looks the same, and if it's unique and it stands out, it's easier for him to promote. So it's like a black boxer who's slick, who got power, or got a certain smile, or a certain swag, or a certain appeal, or charisma, or whatever, dominating in the ring. Bob Arum still only knows how to promote him so far. You know what I'm saying? Because he can't see the unseen things. But when you get a Lomachenko who can do some of the similar things to what, a larger population of African American athletes can do in the ring, he's going to stand out. It's just like Eminem's going to stand out in rapping. When Eminem first came out, man, I can't never say I didn't like Eminem, but I just couldn't stand the fact that some people would just sit there and argue, for one, that he was the best rapper alive, but for two, it was like he had the talent. People had to argue that he didn't have talent was bullshit. Like, Eminem obviously had talent, but never get it twisted. It was still just always, I could go into all the different hip hop artists that to me was way better than Eminem, that would never be put on the same level of popularity because of their complexion, and they all look the same. They all, it's just easier. You have a whole bunch of talent, and they all have enough similarities to where they blur out to casual audience where they can't really tell the difference. They're not trying to go into the detail and find the difference. Something that stands out. It's like the opposite. Like, if I had a white sheet of paper and I put a black dot on it, you're going to focus on the black dot. It's going to stand out. You're not going to see all the white. That's just how human nature is designed. You know what I'm saying? So Eminem was going to stand out, and plus he got skills. That's the thing about Lomachenko. He does have skills. He did beat Gary Russell Jr. Now, Gary Russell Jr. said he had some issues making weight. You know what I'm saying? The thing about it when it comes to Lomachenko versus Devin Haney, first of all, I want to say this. Lomachenko has the blueprint two ways already how to beat him. You can beat him the way Salido beat him, which is just rough tactics, But he learned from that, but Salido beat him. Then the way Teofimo Lopez beat him. Now, of course, he says, Lomachenko says he was dealing with a shoulder issue. But, you know, you could still see how Lopez squared him off to where he just kept the ring cut off to where Lomachenko couldn't spin around him. And he used his dominant hand to hit body shots and basically control Lomachenko until Lomachenko started to sell out in the 8th round. Started having some success using some rough tactics, some headbutts, and just throwing some good combinations. But he had one flurry in the 2nd round, and then he didn't do anything up until the 8th round. But he had an injury, supposedly. But he came back strong after that loss and beat Masayoshi Nakatani, knocked him out, and then he beat Richard Coleman and knocked him out. Had him all over the ring on Bambi legs, doing like what Muhammad Ali did, like telling the ref to stop the fight, or doing like Roy Jones did when he was fighting Pazienza, telling the ref to stop the fight. Lomachenko was doing the same thing to Richard Coleman, like, man, y'all need to throw in the towel and stop the fight. His legs is gone. Then the whole little war thing, the whole huge war thing is happening over there. So, okay, we're not going to touch on that. If you want to hear them touch on that, go watch Trio. They touched on that. Devin Haney. Okay, Lomachenko beat Gary Russell Jr. Beat Rigondeaux. Beat Nicholas Walters. Beat Jorge Linares. Beat Luke Campbell. And he did it in a dominant fashion. You could obviously see his talent, his footwork, his punch combinations, and his power, and his skills. Not to say he was perfect. I've seen his flaws. They got exposed twice. Devin Haney has not had a blueprint laid out to show how he can be defeated. But his level of competition is not equated to Lomachenko, even though they say Lomachenko got the franchise and ducked Devin Haney. You know, I'm not going to touch on that really. But Devin Haney, who he fought that I can remember, was that Alfredo Santiago. He knocked him down, and then he couldn't finish the job. He went the distance. Fought Yoriokas Gamboa. Yoriokas Gamboa had just got knocked out by Tank, but it took Tank 12 rounds to knock out Yoriokas Gamboa. Gamboa is tough, but Devin Haney was promising a knockout, couldn't knock him out. He had some injuries to his hand. Then he fought Jorge Linares. Jorge Linares, solid opponent, but Jorge Linares had went up in weight and got busted down in the 1st round, was knocked out. Came back down in weight, a little bit older. He already been knocked out by Lomachenko, even though he did drop Lomachenko. But when he fought Devin Haney, he caught Devin Haney in the 9th round, and Devin Haney's legs betrayed him. He was like escorting him to the corner of his ring. Then he kind of let Devin Haney off the hook, but Devin Haney fought smart. He did something very similar to Floyd Money Mayweather when Mayweather got caught by Sugar Shane Mosley. And he survived through the storm and still managed to pull out a victory in somewhat of a shutout. That's Devin Haney. He hasn't been beat yet. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to act like his level of competition is just top of the notch. He played some very strategic chess and managed to catch a very great opportune moment to get George the Ferocious Kambosos with all the belts. That's like on the Nature Channel when you see like an animal lay his eggs and then leave them, and then some other animal just come and just swoop up the whole nest and eat all the eggs up. I mean, George Ferocious Kambosos is a sparring partner for Manny Pacquiao. He's a decent fighter, but he's, I don't like to say A level, B level, C level, but he's not on the level. And he really was not better than Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez, with all the excuses, at the end of the day, what I say what he did in the ring, I don't know outside of his personal life, but in the ring, Teofimo Lopez came in there in the very 1st round and blew his load. Blew his load. Threw nothing but bombs and haymakers. Then he got dropped, got clipped. Kudos to Kambosos. Then the fight just kind of had some ebbs and flows, but Kambosos would just do enough every single round to edge out, throw off a combination, offset his rhythm, be faster, hit him with punches that, you know, we didn't even know George Kambosos had in his arsenal. But then Teofimo Lopez mounts a comeback, knocks down Kambosos. Kambosos starts to fade, His face is busted up. Both their faces busted up. The fight was pretty close, but you could obviously see that Kambosos did enough to take those belts. But you could see that it was mainly what Teofimo Lopez was doing that caused him to have a bad fight. All the esophagus issues and the bronch, whatever issues that he was saying, out of that, I don't equate that. I say his game plan was trash. His corner was trash. He basically did like a very huge rookie mistake, and George Kambosos took advantage. But it was still obvious that he wasn't on the same level. Sort of like watching Hasim Rahman knock out Lennox Lewis. You'd be like, man, he just knocked out Lennox Lewis. But in that rematch, we seen what was what. We knew that Hasim Rahman wasn't on the same level as a Lennox Lewis. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson. You're like, man, he just beat Mike Tyson. When Holyfield comes and beat Buster Douglas, you're not looking at Holyfield like he beat the greatest heavyweight. At that time, he didn't beat who you wanted him to beat. He beat the man that beat the man. Devin Haney beat the man that beat the man that beat the man. George Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez beat Lomachenko. Lomachenko versus Devin Haney, I think, would be a tough fight for both of those guys. I would see Devin Haney would have to be on his best, his A game. And I would think about him getting hit by Linares and getting a little wobbly. I would think him pitching that shutout, picture perfect shutout, going to that man homeland in his backyard against all odds stacked against him. They wouldn't let his father over there. They wouldn't let his cut man over there. They wouldn't let what's his name, Ben Davison over there. And that man put on his grown man pants, his big boy pants. He went in there and dominated George Kambosos. To me, that elevated my mentality of Devin Haney. I think he'd have a tough fight against a Shakur Stevenson or a tough fight against a Gervonta Tank Davis, which I think Gervonta Tank Davis, that's another subject. I'm not going to touch on that. But him versus Lomachenko, I would say that what he's been through with his Alfredo Santiago, his Yuriorkis Gamboa, his George Kambosos, you know what I'm saying, and his experience going over there fighting and coming back with all the belts, I think that has matured him in a way that I could see him edging out Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? Lomachenko, like I said, he has obvious, he has been beaten twice. But when I look at him, how he fought against Nakatashi and Richard Comey, and he's coming back if he has this tune-up fight, which makes sense. He has a tune-up fight against Jermaine somebody. And then, you know, Devin Haney has to fight Kambosos again, and I expect him to win. And then they meet up. That'd be a good fight, great fight, really good fight to see Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. I think it'll push Devin Haney even higher and prepare him for the adversity he would face in the 140. I would expect Devin Haney to rise to the occasion, but Lomachenko could beat Devin Haney. In my opinion, he could. That's a risky, dangerous fight, and it would be the most dangerous fight that I have seen, in my opinion, Devin Haney go through. So I would love to see him go through that, go through and grow through that fight, because I think he would win. But he would definitely, it'd be one of those fights like what made Mayweather, one of those tough fights like when Mayweather fought Miguel Cotto. It elevated him. You know what I'm saying? Like when Mayweather fought Castillo, it elevated him. It got him to the point where he could beat anybody based off his ability to, you know, adapt to every single style. I haven't seen Devin Haney in there with every single style underneath the bright lights, but I think Loma is one of those styles that would make Devin Haney, put it like this, Devin Haney fighting Lomachenko, and if he beats Lomachenko, then if Devin Haney fights a Gervonta Tank Davis, he beats Gervonta Tank Davis. A Devin Haney that doesn't fight Loma, and then he fights George Kambosos, and then he would fight a Gervonta Tank Davis, I think Gervonta Tank Davis would knock out Devin Haney without that experience. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, without him going through the experience of fighting Lomachenko, even though Lomachenko and Gervonta Tank Davis, they don't fight the same. But I'm just saying, the experience, the confidence, you know what I'm saying? We know Gervonta Tank Davis didn't fight Lomachenko. You know what I mean? And we know that Gervonta Tank Davis can detonate a bomb and land a shot and knock out Devin Haney, but he has to land that shot. And Lomachenko, you know what I'm saying, he is not easy to hit. You can hit his body, but he has some of the best footwork ability in the game. And if Devin Haney can neutralize that and keep him at the end of that stick and outbox him, then going into a Tank fight will give him another level of confidence that Tank hasn't acquired yet, because Tank is still somewhat a novelty actor, somewhat, to use the words of Trill, he's an attraction. You know what I'm saying? I think he's the real deal, Evander Holyfield, and he would need to fight a Ryan Garcia and then fight a Devin Haney. All those boys need to fight each other, period. Bow-bow. Salute.